Came up to me with a really nasty cut on his neck, which he let me clean up with some salt and water. But because he's not neutered, he still has to live outside, and that's when we noticed him triggering Mum's doorbell in the middle of the night, going to sleep on her car, and then not waking up again for 2.5 hours. And when it rains, we don't see Boise for days, so I decided to get him a little something. With a little bit of DIY, we built him this hutch that he can sleep inside of. I tried to tempt him inside with a bit of food, but he wasn't too sure about it, and apparently cats don't like to eat where they sleep anyway, so I thought I'll try something different and give it a bit of a personal touch. And there you go, now Boise knows this hutch is for him, no girls allowed. So I made it nice and comfortable and left it in his favourite spot outside the back door. I set up the camera to see if he'd be using it overnight, and although he came along at 5 AM to give it a bit of a sniff, he ultimately decided sleeping on the sofa would be better. And this went on for a few weeks because we've had great weather, so he'd either sleep on the sofa or on top of the hutch instead of inside. Until one day we got torrential rain, so I snuck outside to take a look, and sure enough, there's Boise, tucked up, nice and safe, inside his new home. I've been looking after a stray cat for a month now that we call Boise, and he's got a cut on his neck that's just not getting better, so I gotta take him to the vets, which means trying to get him inside a cat carrier. And it wasn't easy. He put up a pretty good fight, but ultimately on the third try we were able to dunk him in, although Boise still wasn't too happy about it. The vets had a look and they confirmed Boise's around 8 or 9 years old, he's got no microchip, and he's a very good boy. The vets also removed the dead skin from his neck to allow the wound to heal, and we have to give him antibiotics for another 3 weeks. In that time, we've also given him a D-flea treatment, and he's been able to spend some quality bonding time with our cat Lola. But his neck's healed now, so it's time to get him neutered, which means one final trip to the vet where they kept him in all day to allow the anesthetic to wear off, and they advised us to keep him in all night as well. So I bought him a litter tray, but Boise hated it and would do anything he could to get out of the house. We discussed it as a group and ultimately decided letting him go would be better. So we freed up the cat flap and allowed him to go outside, where he did what most cats would do and stood on the other side of the door screaming at us. And that's because he didn't want to leave. He likes it here. He just didn't like being locked in the house. So although I like to think Boise's learned to love me, I'm pretty sure after all this, he's never gonna trust me. 6 months ago, a stray cat showed up on my doorstep that we call Boise, and he's always lived in the garden and never really liked being indoors unless of course he's getting food. But since getting him neutered, he's slowly been spending more time in the house, and one day he even curled up on my lap and started purring for the very first time. And over the coming weeks, he's got more and more confident when staying indoors, and even started to explore further into the house until he found his new favourite sleeping spot right where I normally sleep on my bed. And when Boise sleeps, boy does he sleep. He now spends all day in my bedroom and even cuddles up with us to watch movies at night. It's got to the point where he actually hates being alone, and if I leave the bedroom for too long, Boise will come and stare at me until I return so that he can go safely back to sleep. The only problem is I still have to let him in through the back door every day, so it's time to give him a key to the house, which means grabbing and bagging him while he sleeps for another trip to the vet, so Boise can get the microchip he's always deserved and we can register him on our cat flap and teach him how to use it for 24/7 entry. And there you go, Boise is no longer a stray. He has officially become part of our family, although I do worry that he's getting a little bit too comfortable on my side of the bed.